The goal isn't to learn one discipline or dogma and stay there. The goal is transcendence by any means necessary. This is the same for both groups. Hello, today in my Gnostic Sects playlist, I'm going to talk about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Known as a magical order, you're probably wondering, why are they a Gnostic sect? Well, I would say that they have more similarities than differences, but let's get into it. The Golden Dawn mainly operated in Great Britain, but several of their members came from other parts of the United Kingdom. The original group was active from 1888 to about 1903. They were deemed a secret society, but based on their members, many of who were famous, they weren't very secret. I would say they are more elitist than secret, but they delved into Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, occult practices, Hermeticism, metaphysics, ancient philosophy. Their main goal was performing ceremonial magic and their spiritual development. They had three founders: William Robert Woodman, William Wynne Westcott, and Samuel Little Mathers. These three were Freemasons and members of the Societas Rosicruciana in Anglia. One thing to note is that I think Freemasonry is a controversial subject. I'll say this about it. I think it's like any institution, like any group in humanity, there's going to be bad and good members. But with that said, corruption trickles down from the top, and perhaps there's more honesty at the local level. But the Golden Dawn worked with grades like a school or a college. This grade structure was based on the Rosicrucian Society of England, and like the Gnostics, they admitted women into their organization. The Golden Dawn was the first of three orders, although all three are often collectively referred to as the Golden Dawn. The first order taught esoteric philosophy and Kabbalah, focusing on personal development, sort of the outside circle. They learned of the four classical elements, basic astrology, tarot and divination, and geomancy. And these were the grades. The second or inner order, the Rosai, Robii, et Orei Crucis or Crucius. I've seen different pronunciations for this. They learned ritual magic, scrying, astral travel, and alchemy. And these were their grades. And the final order, the third order, the secret chiefs, these were the final grades. I would say that this is a bit like the Invisible College of the Rosicrucians. You can see my video on the Rosicrucians if you want to know more about that. As far as Hermetic Kabbalah, I've decided that after my next Gnostic sect video, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to do a brief series comparing Kabbalah to Gnosticism. It'll probably be 4 videos, perhaps 5. Watch out for that in the coming months. But like I said, they were not really secret per se. I mean, you could maybe say that the higher you got into the organization, the more secretive it became, but many celebrities belong to the Golden Dawn. I will list some here: Yeats the poet, Arthur Machen, the occult writer, Evelyn Underhill, the mystic Crowley, Pamela Coleman Smith, who illustrated the tarot, Algernon Blackwood, who is also a writer, Constance Wilde, Oscar Wilde's wife. But there are many others, and some tangentially connected, like Bram Stoker and Oscar Wilde. There was a lot of drama and offshoots, but the Golden Dawn inspired other groups. I will put them on the screen. I'm not going to go into all this drama here. The video would be very long if I did, but if you're interested in it, I would definitely look into it. It's a fascinating story. You know, eventually the founders fought. There were all these power struggles. When Crowley joined, it caused a lot of chaos. It's all really interesting. Why they haven't made a TV or a film about this is anyone's guess, but I think it would be pretty amazing. I could see a Penny Dreadful style TV show. I think that would definitely work. There's a lot to mine here and a lot of personalities that could be fleshed out. Now I'm going to get into how they were similar to the Gnostics, and there are lots of similarities. I suppose you could even look at them as an extension of Gnostic teachings. I will go through several points here. Number 1, hidden esoteric knowledge as path to power or liberation. Both systems focus on secret knowledge as the key to transformation. In the Golden Dawn, that shows up as graded initiations and occult teachings. In Gnostic sects, it's the idea of gnosis. Number 2, layered cosmology and spiritual hierarchy. Gnostic systems have their complex divine hierarchies, the aeons, the archons, etc., the cosmic thrones. The Golden Dawn mirrors this by following the structured paths of the Kabbalah. They draw from the Sephiroth, working their way up the tree of life. Number 3, a flawed or deceptive material world. Gnostics see the physical world as a trap laid out by inferior forces. The Golden Dawn doesn't go quite this far. However, they still treat materiality as a lower plane. It must be transcended through spiritual development. In the Kabbalah, it's called Malkuth, and they wanted to work upward through the spheres toward the supernal triad. I'll talk more about this in my Kabbalah videos. Number 4, initiation as transformation. Both groups rely on staged progress. Gnostic groups had inner circle and levels of understanding. They're adepts, which went by many different names, but like in the example of the Cathars, they were the perfecti. But they also had their believers or outside circle, those wanting to help or be initiated. The Golden Dawn formalized this into ritual initiations tied to symbolic death and rebirth and ascent through the grades. I have no proof of this, but I suspect that the Gnostic adepts probably had a hierarchy within their groups to some degree. There's a lot of evidence that they were communal, and I'm not saying they weren't, but I find it hard to believe that there weren't hierarchies within these groups. Even still, they both had disciple relationships, outside people wanting to be inducted. Number 5, syncretism, the mixing of traditions. Neither system is pure. Gnostic sects blended ancient Greek philosophy, early Christianity, Second Temple Judaism, Egyptian and Near Eastern ideas. The Golden Dawn mashed together Hermeticism, Kabbalah, alchemy, astrology, and Egyptian symbolism. The goal isn't to learn one discipline or dogma and stay there. The goal is transcendence by any means necessary. This is the same for both groups. Using whatever is valuable or available. Number 6, symbolism as a teaching language. Both groups communicated using symbols, allegory, and coded text rather than just doctrine. They used mythic figures, divine emanation paths, and ritual imagery to show these teachings. Many of the ideas in both groups could be deemed Hermetic as far as their symbolism. Number 7, personal spiritual experience over institutional authority. The Gnostics rejected orthodox authority in favor of direct knowledge. The Golden Dawn, while structured, still emphasized personal mystical experience over dogma. They were definitely still outside of the established system. Victorian Britain was fascinated by the supernatural, but also socially conservative. So secret initiatory rituals raised eyebrows. Another thing to note is that women were still viewed through a Victorian social expectation lens. So reactions to this ranged from admiration to discomfort to outright sensational judgment. I think at this time, these women would have had to have been very gutsy to go through with this. These were exceptional women that were definitely outside the mainstream. Number 8, the idea of awakening. I would say both groups saw people as asleep or ignorant. The highest goal of life is spiritual awakening, whether that's escaping the material illusion like in Gnosticism or realizing one's higher self like in the Golden Dawn. They were both wholly dedicated to this goal, no matter the personal cost. Differences. Gnosticism is fundamentally religious or mythological, I think. It's dualistic. There's the true unknowable God versus the flawed creator, the demiurge. The Golden Dawn was more hermetic and monistic. The divine is unified and accessible through correspondences and study. I think they were less pessimistic about existence overall. Gnostic sects had loosely organized communities, typically only 2 or 3 grades. Golden Dawn had highly structured order with ranks, lodges, and a detailed curriculum, almost like a university or a college structure. lots of rituals and facts to learn and memorize. There's no record of systematic repression of the Golden Dawn, no arrest or violence against its members. It operated openly, although discreetly. The same cannot be said for the Gnostics. They were persecuted and snuffed out. But who knows? If the Golden Dawn had existed at that time, the same might have happened to them. Closest Gnostic analog. I would say Valentinianism is the closest philosophical cousin of the Golden Dawn. They both had structured cosmologies. Valentinians mapped out emanations in a way that strongly parallels the Golden Dawn's use of the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. They had inner teachings for advanced members, very similar to the Golden Dawn grade systems. Valentinians often distinguished between ordinary believers and the spiritually mature. Unlike harsher Gnostics like the Sethians, Valentinians didn't completely trash the material world. The Golden Dawn saw matter as lower, not evil. Valentinus saw existence as monistic, albeit expressed in dualistic terms. I suppose you could see it like this. Golden Dawn, ascend and integrate the structure of reality. Valentinian, restore the structure of reality. Sethian, escape the structure of reality. Valentinian myths can be read symbolically, much like the Golden Dawn rituals. Lastly, they both existed on the margins of more dominant systems. Valentinus attempted to align Christianity with Platonism. He was kind of in the church, but outside of it. The Golden Dawn operated alongside mainstream Victorian religion and science, but that's about it for them. In my next Gnostic Sects video, I will talk about Thelema and the Ordo Templi Orientis, which are offshoots of the Golden Dawn, but that's all I got. If you have anything to say about this group, if you agree or disagree with me, you can put that below. But take care. Have a good day.